What's up, everybody? I'm super excited to break down this year's edition of the Cat's Hill Classic, one of my favorite races on the calendar, and I know I'm not alone in saying that. The race has been going on for nearly 50 years. I think it's one of the few races that actually deserves that classic denotion, and you can tell from the intro, obviously the main feature on the course is this brutal 23% hill that you have to punch up every minute and a half or so. And everyone wants to win this race. You know, this was won by a young rider by the name of Greg LeMond. You may have heard of him. This year was no different. We had a really strong field. A bunch of pros came out, which is always awesome. I was here with 3 of my Tarun Elite teammates, and our main goal was just to survive. I feel like that's kind of everyone's goal in this race, be there at the end and hopefully have some energy to mix it up in the final. But yeah, let's jump into this. Let's talk about it with some extra up talk. Yikes. But no, I hope you guys enjoy and I hope you learned something. And as always, thanks for all the support. So there were a lot of strong guys out here this day. I think this race, you know, its reputation and everything, it really just attracts the best of the best that we have here in Northern California. And I think basically everyone that lined up this day had a shot at winning. The main teams that we were looking out for were Mike's Bikes in the purple kits, Project 74, which is the specialized team in the white and black, and then Volet, which is in the kind of aqua color, as well as just tons of strong individual riders. We had Tobin Ortenblad, who is a professional CX racer and gravel guy. Eamon Lucas, who raced in Belgium. He's a tank of a rider. Quinn Felton, a super strong local kid who is on a Volo this year. Jason Saltzman, another very strong former pro. And Lance Hated, who is on Legions. With all that being said, I still was mainly looking to Mike's Bikes to control the race. I think they had 8 guys, and they're the title sponsor of this race, so I knew they would want to win. And Ryan, their kind of ace rider, he won this race last year, and he's been flying, so I knew he was one to for sure look out for. All right, that's the boring stuff out of the way. Let's get into the racing. So here we are on lap 2, and no one is wasting any time. Tobin Ortenblad is already off the front with a few riders, and my teammate Jacob is bridging up. So we've been having a lot of rain here in Northern California, and there was some runoff on the course here at the top of the section and also down in between turn 1 and 2. The main danger area was in between turn 1 and 2 because I think the water had been running so long that it kind of formed that nasty algae that is just like glass, and if you get your tire in there, it's really easy to lose control. Right on cue, there was a rider losing control in that nasty wet section. I think what happened was he got pushed wide and he was trying to get up onto the sidewalk to use it as kind of like an escape road, and that algae slippery stuff just made his steering input do nothing. So yeah, nasty crash, and I got splashed with a bunch of water and it somehow found its way underneath my sunglasses into my eye, and I was trying to like clean out my eye while going up the hill this next lap, so not optimal. And yeah, I hope that guy is okay. All right, so situation on the road is that original breakaway of a handful of riders along with my teammate and Tobin got brought back, and Tobin basically countered himself. I don't know, he was just on one to stay, and he got a gap because the field sort of sat up, and I think Mike's Bikes was thinking, okay, it's easier to control one rider, but in the back of their mind, I'm sure they were thinking, man, I would really have preferred a different rider than Tobin Ortenblad because he is extremely strong. And here I am going for a little dig up the hill because at this point Tobin hasn't disappeared off into the sunset yet, and I'm trying to see if one of these strong solo riders might want to ride a breakaway with me, but Chris Reichert from Mike's Bikes kind of shuts it down. I think they just wanted Tobin up there and no one else. And honestly, I don't want to commit a massive effort this early on in the race. I just don't have that fitness, and this is a race where you can't really shoot your bullets off willy-nilly because really strong guys end up getting dropped in this race. You know, guys that you would never expect to get dropped on a flat crit end up losing contact here. So that ends up being the breakaway of the day, Tobin Ortenblad all by himself. It was kind of a bummer that I missed it because I did float the idea to my teammates that I would go for the early move, but I just thought it was too early, to be honest, and I thought that the field would kind of attack our way back up to Tobin, but He was insanely strong. We'll talk more about him later on. Okay, so now Tobin is way up there. I think he got a gap of like 25 or 30 seconds pretty quickly, and I'm not bridging that for sure. And it didn't really look like anyone else in the field was interested in bridging, so I think we all were just leaning on Mike's bikes to throw their weight around, use their numbers to control and keep him in check, and banking on them pulling him back. So I went into energy conservation mode, and you're probably like, wait, how the hell do you conserve energy on a course like this? And yeah, don't get me wrong, you have to do the watts on the hill, but there is a difference between having to do 1100 watts on the hill and 800 watts. And the way you do that lower number is you conserve momentum into the base of the hill through that left-hand turn. So here's an example of me doing a pretty good job of that. And here's an example of me not doing a good job. And the power difference is pretty significant. And yeah, don't get me wrong, 800 watts is hard and 1100 is hard. They almost feel the same, but to your body, 1100 watts is going to be much more detrimental in the long term of the race compared to 800 watts. Some of you might be thinking, hey, what about sag climbing? And I don't think it works for this particular hill, because the way it is there's that steep pitch and then it kind of continues going. And if you lose a bunch of momentum, that little bit after the hill can actually be really painful. So I wouldn't recommend sag climbing. In some ways, this course is actually like the easiest course on the calendar to move up and hold your position. The reason for that is you go so slow on that hill that you can kind of weave your way around people, but you do have to be careful to still protect your front wheel and everything like that. And here we see a rider getting crossed up with Eamon, and he's like an immovable object, and your front wheel versus Eamon wins that all day. And yeah, he hits the deck there. Luckily it's in that slow section, so he was fine. He actually raced the next day. And I should plug that this race is part of the Highway 17 Omnium. Most everyone raced the following day down in Santa Cruz, which is another difficult hilly criterium, so keep an eye out for that video coming out soon. Alright, so we jumped ahead into the final act of this race. We got 8K to go, it's about 10 minutes, and I find myself on Eamon's wheel, and you can tell he's pretty big, so he's a good draft, and I'm just going to try to stick here as long as I can. And at this point, we still have not brought back Tobin. I'm still thinking that, okay, it's probably going to speed up a lot and we're going to bring him back, but I'm starting to wonder if he's just going to take this solo. But at this point, I'm feeling, honestly, not the best. I don't think anyone is feeling great at this point. We've done the hill probably like 25 times. Sorry, my rear camera is starting to look pretty cloudy. It's just that runoff that's getting kicked up onto the lens. But yeah, the game plan is just stick on Eamon's wheel. He has like an 1800 watt sprint, I'm pretty sure. So the likelihood of me being able to go with him once he finally launches it isn't super high, but I'm still going to try my best. And I think this is a pretty good spot to be in for trying to win the race. All right, so we have 5 laps to go, 5 more climbs of this damn hill. And I'm trying to puppy guard Eamon's wheel, just keep him on my right shoulder. And for whatever reason, he felt like he was too far forward and he just completely stops pedaling. And it sort of reminded me of that scene in Star Wars when Luke is on the speeder bike and he just like completely brake checks the stormtroopers.
Keep on that one, I'll take these 2.
Maybe not as dramatic, but yeah, you have to be willing to position yourself in the place that you think is going to allow you to win. And he didn't want to take any pulls, and I didn't blame him. It's on Mike's bikes to pull Tobin back. So I sort of do the same, and I just drop back and find my way back to his wheel. All right, so I did a pretty good job sticking on Eamon's wheel. It required some energy, some risk, some argy-bargy. I will post the full race if you want to check that out. But here we are going into Bell Lap, and I stuck on his wheel, and I'm about to start getting in this big fight with Quinn on my right there, the Avolo rider, and we still have not caught Tobin. It's insane, but I think he just passed around that right-hand bend that we're coming up to, and I'm gonna do a little injection of speed to just win this corner. But in that fight with Quinn, on my left there, Jack, the Altavelo rider, kind of picks my pocket for Eamon's wheel, and you're gonna see Eamon launch here. And this is such a bummer because I knew he was gonna do this and I wanted to be on his wheel, but yeah, of course I missed it. And now I'm kind of on the back foot here, and Mike's Bikes has their lead out going for Ryan. and I just have to check my speed right there going into the hill because of that Project 74 rider, and I just lose like a smidge of momentum, guys, just like 1%, and that's all it takes for me to get gapped off when everyone is just on the rivet here. And I think we're just about to catch Tobin at this right-hand corner, and I'm trying my best to like use this downhill to get some speed through this right-hand bend, and then I'm gonna try to jam it, and then bam, I clip a pedal, and I feel so bad because it caused the volet rider who was on my wheel to crash. And at this point, my rhythm is completely thrown off. I feel like I have a flat tire. I actually paused right there and kind of like bounced up and down, and my tire felt soft. So that is basically the race riding away from me. And man, it is a cruel sport because you can do 99% of it right, but that last 1%, if you don't get it right, you know, that can be it. So I roll it in for 9th, and Mike's Bikes, their race ended up coming together, and they pulled back Tobin in that last half lap and ended up leading out Ryan for the win. And man, hats off to the guy. Pretty insane taking the win in a field like this. And yeah, I love this race, guys. I would love to come back to this race and peak for it and get on the podium. If I do that, I'm calling it now. I'm retiring. But as always, I appreciate all of you guys watching. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you got something out of it. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. Give me a thumbs down if I up-talked too much. See you guys real soon for that Santa Cruz recap that I am working on right now, as well as a few other videos. Subscribe, and thanks again for watching. See you soon.